my travels around our tiny globe, we were discussing about a new life. Now, what I was explaining about a new life was this: that if you look at the construct within which God puts the first man, Adam, onto the earth, is he puts him into a very interesting situation. First, he builds Adam from the earth. Okay, he forms him from the dust of the earth, and then he breathes on him, and Adam becomes a living being. So he is a man formed from dust, molded together, and with the breath of God becomes a living being. But then God puts Adam in a garden that God has planted. And in that garden, he puts trees. Now, the Bible is careful to say trees. It does not say that in the garden he planted grass, wheat, and other things. No, 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 no. He plants trees. And among these trees, and this is the hint, among these trees is what? Is a tree called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and the tree of life. Now, we know that when Adam ate of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, we know, we are taught he died, but the Bible is very clear to state that he knew the difference between good and evil, blessing and calamity. Now, this is important because it tells you that eating of a tree makes you acquire the tenets of that tree. So if you eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you gain knowledge of good and evil. Now, what is also important and critical is to realize that when Adam ate that fruit, God said that Adam has become like us. Now, there are two things there that are important. It is important to note that Adam was not like God before. And number two, that the activity of the devil in tricking Adam only worked towards what God wanted. Now, of course, my good friend Ken Mugane then asked, is that the right thing? Now, of course, eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was only the first step in the awakening of Adam. What do I mean by awakening of Adam? Okay, I don't know whether I should say this. Everything that God put on earth has a purpose, right? So what's the purpose of sin? You see, nothing was created by accident. We know God created both the darkness and he created the light as well. Correct? So if he created the darkness and he created the light, then it must follow that what? That everything in the darkness was created by him and for him, and everything in the light was created by him and for him. That's the Bible says so. It says all the things were created by him and for him. Therefore, anyway, let me just put myself in trouble. Sin has a purpose. Okay, let me backtrack. Without sin, what did Adam achieve? He named animals. He married a wife. That's it. Okay? There. God allowed man to have the capacity to sin. It is not a flaw. Okay, how do I explain it? If you are sinless, can you be godlike? Because to be like a God is literally to be like a God. God is not, God cannot sin because he's above the law. He cannot, when he kills Jews in the wilderness, we do not call him a murderer. Oh, God. Okay. Let me try again. Any head of state, okay, is immune to persecution. Correct? The laws of the land do not directly apply to a head of state. Less a president and more a monarch, right? A king can shoot you, hakuna pahali utampeleka. You understand? Now, God is above kings. He cannot sin. He cannot break a law. Correct? Now, we are seated with God in heavenly places. So we are above the law. Okay. But, see, it says that to the pure, all things are pure. Yes. It says that you have the righteousness of Christ. Okay. I am struggling because this is information I was not planning to say. But in God creating man and in man sinning, what does God say? He says, man has become like us. So one of the first tenets of becoming God-like is eating the... No, but okay, let me read it. Let me read it. So that then we'll go back to the scripture I want to read. I'm just landing myself in trouble. People will stone me after this, but it's okay. It's not me who said it. But let's go to Genesis. You know? So Genesis chapter 3, I want to read something for you towards the end. Okay? Genesis 3:22, all right? The Lord God said, behold, the man has become like one of us. Okay? So one of the first things in the journey of man becoming like God was what? Man breaking God's law. No, but that's what it says. Behold, the man has become like one of us. So being... People will stone me. Let me put it like this, because this is one of the journeys that Christians need to understand. From Adam all the way to the transformation of the last man into the image of God, it has been a descending reality. In other words, the things that God had long kept away from humanity is continually downloaded and revealed to us. Okay? I'll give you a basic example. If you look at the book of Genesis chapter 2, God makes plants first. There are no animals. Okay? Then later he goes like, okay, let me make animals. Where were the animals before? Because in Genesis chapter 1, we know he created everything. But chapter 2, there are no animals. So he forms animals and brings them to Adam to name them. Now, notice something very interesting. The evolutionists will tell you that plants came before animals. That's exactly what the Bible says. But again, God had it in his mind to bring animals. But why didn't God then immediately create Adam and go like, here's a bear, here's a passion fruit, and here's a mosquito. But God decided in his wisdom to download what he had in his mind according to the capacity of the man in the earth. Because the reason there was no plant, the reason there was nothing on the earth is because God had not caused it to rain and the man had not been formed. That means what God then reveals on the earth is he reveals on the earth that which man is now ready to consume. Okay? Give you an example again. Animals have been around for a long time. Thousands of years according to Bible time. Then Noah comes, the flood comes, and then Noah wakes up one day and he is told, listen, I'm putting a rainbow in the sky, but I am also allowing you to eat meat. So why couldn't Adam eat meat? Do you see? Methuselah and Enoch and everybody else never ate meat until Noah. And Noah is the one who reveals to them, and God reveals to him that you can eat meat. He was the first guy to taste a steak. You see? So throughout the Bible, we realize that God reveals himself not once. He is not static. The God of Muslims is static. He created laws hundreds of years ago, and that's it, it's stuck. But if you follow the Bible, it has always been that God has revealed his desires, his plans, and his intentions, chapter after chapter of the Bible. Chapter number 1 of making man like God is introducing man to sin. Now I know people are going to say, oh my God, what do you mean? Listen, doesn't the Bible say that when you were born in sin? By the will of who? Or did your mother sign and say, dear God, I want this one to be a sinner? You understand? So by the will of God, God chose that man shall be born in sin. Because sin does a very interesting thing to a human being. Okay? And in fact, one of the ways you realize, right? So, sin makes you realize one thing pretty quickly. It makes you realize how to be creative. If you have a child, and your child does not steal sugar and lie to you, he has a developmental problem. No, it's the truth. The doctor will tell you it is normal, right? In fact, one of the ways we measure intelligence in animals and in human beings is by their ability to create lies. So, I'm going to put myself in so much trouble. But the journey, you see, the first sin that Adam does creates, and you can see it in the life of Cain, creates a lot of creativity. And by the time Noah is coming on the earth, the creativity has gotten to a point where people are killing each other, and it's an evil thing. And he says the inclinations of the hearts of men was towards evil all the time. Okay? So what then is the journey? The journey is, how do I put it? Is bringing your godlikeness into the boundaries of love, into the boundaries of faith, into the boundaries of hope. Let me explain why those are boundaries, and perhaps I'm getting ahead of myself. They are boundaries because, number one, when you love someone, you limit yourself in how you hurt them. and you limit your power in how you use it. Okay? When you love someone, even when you hurt them, so for example, when you cane your child, you do not cane them because you want to steal their diapers. You cane them because you love them, intending to produce something good out of them. And therefore, love constricts the God in you. Faith constricts you because it forces you to choose between your power and God's power. That doesn't happen. Faith is not trusting God for water. Faith is knowing you can get your own water, but choosing to surrender your power to God. That's why I said there is no God who can sin. Because, how do I put it? You cannot have faith if you do not have free will. That's just dependency. Faith exists because you have free will to choose to surrender your strength to rely on another. You cannot make sense. Faith simply dictates that I could have, like Jesus, turned stones into bread. But because I rely on God, then I will rely on him even in the depths of hell, knowing that he will resurrect me. So faith restricts the sinner. Faith is not a way of acquiring things. It is a way of determining what you have chosen to rely on. Faith is dependency. Okay. Assume you were thrown into space without a spacesuit. Would you wish to have a breathing mask, a radiation cover? Or would you be like David when he says, in the dry and weary land where there is no water, my soul is thirsting for you, because you I rely on more than I rely on water. Okay? In the dry and weary land where there is no water, my soul thirsts for you. When you are in trouble, the thing you call out for, that is the thing you have faith in. And therefore, faith restricts you, because faith calls on you to give up your power so that you can rely on God. But you see, if you are not a sinner, you would never need to have faith. For what? Because sin is the only thing that tells you to rely on yourself. If it was not about self-reliance, why would the thief steal? There is no thief who trusts in God. You cannot trust in God and steal. You understand? So sin exists because of the absence of faith. But you see, we would not have experienced the need of faith if we never sinned. My glasses have flown across the room. Please don't be broken, thank God. Right? So if you never sinned, you would never have need for faith. Did you ever hear it said of Adam, and Adam believed God for the next fruit? Okay? Then what is hope? Hope comes from the realization that you have no ability to manage your future and you have no ability to manage your death. If you are dead now, there is nothing you can do. You are dead, right? But hope, the hope that is beyond the grave, Christ, the hope of glory, is that you have rested in Christ, that he will resurrect you, that he will bring you back to life and give you that thing which you in your sinful state would never access. You understand? So sin has a role in turning us godlike. I was just trying to answer Ken Mugani's question. I am sorry. It was not my intention to go this far. But it is very clear then that in man eating this knowledge of the good and evil and ignoring the tree of life, there is a gap. Because it says, in eating this fruit, man died. Which death? Now, people are saying spiritual death, and we've given all manner of things. And it is true that man was separated from God, and therefore he died in that perspective. But that's not what he said. God did not take his presence away from Adam. We know this because it says at that time men began to call on the name of God. We know that Cain and Abel were sacrificing to God. We know that Cain was talking to God. So God did not reject mankind. The only guy who says, I have been separated from you is Cain. Sindio? Now, if it is only Cain, then which death did Adam die? The only life he was separated from was the life of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's the only thing he was separated from. No, the life of the tree of life. Yes, sorry. I had misspoken. The life of the tree of life is the only life he was kept from. The life he had before, he did not lose until he died. How? Listen, we know that the life God breathed on Adam was not eternal life. Because eternal life is only in Christ, who was there before the foundations of the earth. And therefore, without Adam partaking of Christ, he was not going to live forever. Okay, why then did God put a tree of life? Okay, let's read so we understand. Okay, Genesis 3:22. So he is like us, all right? Knowing how to distinguish between good and evil, blessing, calamity. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. So Adam did not have everlasting life. Are we in the same WhatsApp?
Is that why he died?
Yes. Okay. So the death we are talking about here is the separation from the tree of life, which is why it says you were dead in your sins. You are dead. You before you know Christ, you are not alive. You are dead according to the definition of Scripture. Okay? But when you know Christ, you have everlasting life. Because Christ tells you, if you want to remember me, what should I remember? This is my blood of the covenant. Which agreement? When you drink it, remember me. This is my body broken for you. When you eat it, remember me. And he said, my flesh is meat indeed. My blood is drink indeed. If you drink it, you will never die. Therefore, everlasting life, that tree of life, kept from Adam, is revealed to us through Christ. Okay? Therefore, there should be a difference, and this is now what we came here to discuss. I don't know whether I have questions. Let me see whether we have questions. There are no comments? kustuka. See, at least mtusalamie bwana watu. Eh? We need to get that other internet provider. It is so low. Yeah. So, because did you even share links? You are so bad. Yeah? So, the life that God chose to give us is clear. That there is a difference between the dead life, okay? Okay? There is a difference between the dead life and the life in Christ. Correct? And therefore, the question I have to ask myself is, what is the difference? You get? What is the difference? Tofauti iko wapi? Okay? Now, if there is a difference, we must find it. Senor? Now, there's something I found very interesting, and we'll journey to Luke chapter 10 now. Luke chapter 10. There's something very interesting about the life of Christ. You know, for some reason, I always assumed that a lot of things happened after Christ died. Okay? But remember, the call is to believe in the life, the death, and the resurrection of Christ. There are things about Christ being alive that we need to believe in. There are things about Christ being dead that we need to believe in. And the things about Christ being resurrected that we need to believe in. So I want us to take a journey into a sample of a group of 70 people who believed in the life of Christ while Christ was alive. Okay? Captured very fluently in Luke chapter 10, who of course is a compiler. I think Luke was the last of the synoptic writers. So Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So the first writer was Mark, then Matthew, then Luke. Luke, of course, puts together a lot of the stories from Matthew and Mark. And anyway, why am I even saying these things? Because we need to understand why these books were written. Yeah, they were written because a generation was passing and they realized they had not transmitted this story. So anyway, now after this, the Lord chose and appointed 70 others and sent them out ahead of him, 2 by 2, into every town and place where he himself was about to come. Okay? Now it's very important, the language used here, because we keep missing it. He said, the Lord sent them out 2 by 2, and he chose them. Okay? They did not send themselves. And sent them out where? Ahead of him. Okay? He sent them as a forward party. He sent them to prepare the way. He sent them to create a landing spot for the coming of the Lord. Okay? Nowadays, when we want God to come, we sing songs. So every place where he was about to come, he sent them 2 by 2. Then he says, and he said to them, the harvest is indeed abundant, there is much ripe grain, but the farm hands are few. Pray therefore, for the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. Does not make sense. Because he chose 70. If he knew the harvest is many, why not ask for 200 or 1,000? But he chose 70. Then he tells these 70 their first assignment. Their first is to pray not for the harvest, but for harvesters. You, when you have a shamba, what do you pray for? People to come harvest your things or for the harvest? But Jesus is saying the opposite. He's saying the harvest is plentiful. Pray to the Lord of the harvest that he does what? That he brings in workers. Now, just wait. The way we have taken this scripture is to say what? That God let us evangelize many people. So that's what I can read that Bonke did. Let us bring in many followers. We even have a song, bringing home the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. You know that song? It's a very old song, you know. But that's not what Jesus is asking for. Jesus is asking for a different mentality. He is saying there is a plentiful harvest. How then shall this harvest be harvested if there is no workers? And therefore he is telling you the mentality of the chosen is not a mentality of scarcity of harvest. It's a mentality of scarcity of workers. Right there, it changes your business acumen. Let me put it like this. When people were complaining about COVID, all the wealthiest people got wealthier. Have you ever noticed? I find this strange, and I know it will break someone's heart. But have you ever realized, in every economy where people are complaining, there's a millionaire, there's a billionaire, even in Somalia, because of that simple mind shift. Someone saw crisis, the other one saw harvest. And the mentality of the harvest is plenty is the only mentality that a believer can have that makes sense. Because outside of that mentality, you find yourself stuck. Because you're scared. Correct? Because the harvest is little. So one of the things that you need to understand, if you're going to live the sent life, okay, the life that I'm talking about, is you have to shift your mindset on who is the Lord of the harvest. The harvest is plentiful. I told a friend of mine, he wanted to start a business. And he said, let's say it's peanut butter he wanted to make. He said, nilienda supermarket. There are so many peanut butter companies. Hii biashara siwezi. In the same month he was complaining, other companies brought their peanut butter to the shop.
I'm saying Blue Band, even now introduced.
Yeah, even Blue Band has peanut butter now.
Yeah.
So when you are seeing nothing, someone else is seeing everything. And that change in mentality is critical in your walk with Christ. Now please notice something. This is very strange. The Christian mentality is to say what? Mungu kuja na usitumanishe. These 70 are sent into towns so that Christ can come. So when Christ says, yes, sent you, do you expect him to be there where you're going? Yet it is you to prepare for him to come. A voice crying out in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, is not what a word does in people wearing sackcloths and ashes. It is a harvest mentality that needs to change. Oh man, I'm not even sure that I'll finish what I need to teach So it's 7:42. The mentality has to change. Two mentalities have to change. Number one, Christ is not coming, you are going fast. Okay? Number two, the harvest is plentiful. Don't pray for the harvest. Pray for harvesters. Okay? It's a mentality that needs to change. Because a lot of the time, wacha niwatukane kidogo. A lot of the time, niwatukane kidogo. Prayer permission. A lot of the time, when people complain and they say things are hard and I can't make it and things like that, I'm always like blind. You're blind to your own talents, blind to the opportunities around you, and that's why you think you're desperate. If you're 18 years old, you just got your ID. You're not who I'm talking about. But if you're 18 and 6 months, and listen, it's such a critical mind shift that you cannot serve God if you believe there's little harvest. You can't. Whether you're a businessman, architect, teacher, painter, if you believe there's little harvest, you cannot serve God. Okay? Let me continue. I've got many chapters, verses to read. Now, go your way. Behold, I send you out like lambs into the midst of wolves. Hi. Okay. So the harvest is plenty, but this lamb is being sent to harvest in the midst of wolves. Okay? That doesn't make sense. He should say, behold, I send you like a combine harvester. Right? But he says, your method of harvesting is like being a lamb in the midst of wolves. Now, understand one thing. Both wolves and lambs are pack animals. True or false? Now, have you ever seen a group of lambs with wolves chilling? But he says, when I send you like lambs, not even sheep. When a sheep is grown, a lamb, when a kakondo kamezaliwa, that's a lamb below 6 months among wolves. Okay? Now you remember you're supposed to harvest. Okay? Now, carry no purse, no provisions bags, no change of clothes. Refrain from retarding your journey, saluting and wishing anyone well along the way. Now, you know, there are things Jesus says is very funny. Tells you, I've sent you as a lamb among wolves. Carry no bag. Carry no money. Don't even have a change of clothes. That does not make sense. If I've sent you as a lamb among wolves, I'll tell you carry a sword. Right? But Christ is telling you carry nothing. And then he says, don't stop on the way to greet people. Don't waste time. Focus on your mission. I did not understand this. So it sounds so bad. Should I say this bad thing? So let me say this bad thing. was recently added to a WhatsApp group to some guy. He was a handyman. Those guys who fix pipes and do general contracting work. So guy died. He had my number because he'd done some work for me. And I think it was his wife who put us all in a WhatsApp group to changa for him. So we changaed. And then he was buried. Then a few weeks ago, so he was buried, I was like, I need to exit this group. But a few weeks ago, I was like, I wanted to exit. Then my spirit just said, you know what? Chill. Chill for what? So anyway, I chilled. So Juicy, see now guys are lefting, by the draws, which as they should. In fact, me, I'm wondering, God, why am I not exiting this thing? Then yesterday, someone asks, why are people exiting the group? And I'm like, nigga, what do you mean? And they catch. Kwa razao ndio wanatoka hii group. I'm like, wanatoka kwa razao, yani it jazzes them to exit. I'm thinking, dude is dead and buried, but we want to hang out. We want to sit in this commiserating place. We want to sit in this place. Then I remembered, let the dead bury their own dead. And it is one of the things that is a disease that captures a lot of people. That you want to keep up with society. To quote the words of our now famous poet, you want to bamba. You want to chill with the big boys. Right? That's where a lot of people are. That you have a journey in God, and your journey in God is retarded by your social obligations. Me, where you get that time to just always be chilling with people, I don't get. I'm meeting with my girls, I'm meeting with my boys. I'm not saying it's wrong, but there's limits to it. If you find that you've got more bamba, more chilling than the things of God, then And by the way, I'm going to get to what the things of God are. I'm not saying go join a prayer meeting and spend hours in prayer meetings. No. Don't get me wrong. But the missions you have in life, the objectives you have in life, how much time do you spend on them versus how much time do you spend where? On bamba, on chill. Okay? Do not retard your journey, Jesus says. In other words, do not slow the pace of where you're going. Do not be a procrastinator. Be mission-oriented. And what is mission-oriented? You see, the reason why Jesus begins by telling you the harvest is plentiful is so that you're not worried when you don't carry your wallet. Which one of you on the way to the bank is worried they didn't carry money? Because the bank has the money, right? Right? On top of that, and on the second perspective, Jesus is clear in telling you that there is a harvest, so don't worry. You don't need to carry a wallet because he's changed your mind, but the mission is critical, okay? So if the mission is critical, what does Christ want? Now, he begins to tell you how to succeed in your mission. He tells you, no pass, no provisions, no sandals. He's basically telling you, don't think about starting your journey because you have what you need. A lot of us, we want to start a business when we have capital. You want to start your career when you have your degree. You want the requisite of the fallen man is you must have what you need for the journey before you start the journey. The Lord of the harvest tells you the harvest exists, stop wasting my time. It's the mentality he's addressing. The reason, okay, so I will not even be able to go further. So let me obey what I've been told to tell you. The reason why many people do not see God moving in their life is not that God is not moving. It is that you have prerequisites for God to move, but God will arrive after you move. Unangojea. But God is saying, every town I want to come to, you go first. Where I want to arrive, you go. You are sitting at home waiting for God to come with a degree and money and all the things you need for your journey. God is saying, no. He says you don't need sandals. You don't need a spare. Right? And stop wasting your time. You want to bamba, chill with the big boys. No. Like, listen, don't wait. Don't give yourself excuses to not do the mission I've given you. His mentality is clear in his head. He's like, listen, what you need to do, get off your bum and go. Stop sitting and waiting and saying, I don't have shoes, my wallet is not heavy enough, or you know my father, he didn't give me. God is clear. In fact, those things you think you need, leave them and walk. It is a lesson I have learned. If I go into a business meeting and people are talking about billions and I'm busy touching my last 100 bob, I don't tell them I'm not in the deal. Like me, Kondani. I know the God of the harvest. And God is saying what? The harvest is plentiful. He just needs who? A worker, someone who's willing to do it. I have looked. God says in Isaiah, whom shall I send? Isaiah said, here I am, send me. You know, the problem is your preacher taught you about going to evangelize and saying, standing on crusade pulpits. No. God's intention is to rule over the entire earth, in every sphere. So in everything, God is looking for someone to send. Even among the billionaires, God is like, this billionaire class I need to reach to. And everyone's like, you know, no. Here I am, send me. And he's saying you don't need a wallet. You don't need change of clothes. You just need to be sent. And he keeps telling you. Okay. The towns they were being sent to were towns with new people. People they didn't know, correct? Jesus is stopping them from greeting who? People they know. Because who else would you go greet? No, it's not toxic people. It's not toxic people. That's not what I'm teaching. You see, you are where you are because of the company you keep. For you to save the company you keep, you need to leave. Listen, if you want to save your family and they're dying in poverty, you cannot live there. You have to go and do other things. It's basic. So these salutations and forced journeys, you carry your lot along. Yeah. See, there's a place God has prepared for you. And I always love these stories when people say, I came to Nairobi and I had nothing but a change of clothes. When you hear such stories, you're so inspired, but you don't want to do what that story says. Like, oh, wow. But you don't want to do it. But the truth of the matter is, what is next in your destiny is not where you are. It is not in your wallet. It is not in your clothes. It is not in the circle you keep. It's not. It's in a place where God is sending you. And when you get there, he's telling you, don't be shocked if there are wolves. Then you're in the right place. That's why he sent you. Wolves and strangers. Because he says, where I'm sending you like a lamb among wolves. So when you land somewhere and you hear, meh, meh, just know. When you hear, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm in the right place. Nimefika. This is where I'm supposed to be. Koda hapa. Unashikia hapo ukisikia mawolf. You see, I don't have time to go beyond that. Oh man, listen, we'll continue next week, God willing. But this is just part one of living your eternal life. How do you unlock it? That's what I want to speak about, because a lot of the time Christians have tried to live nice lives, right? We are called to live victorious lives. So that's what we're talking about, victorious lives. So Mungu awabariki. See you guys.